of Voice America. This is Kurt Wilhelm, your co-host of Ageless Living, joined by...
This is Dr. Tong Li, your host.
Here on the show and of Ageless Living. We wanted to finish up our discussion from the last segment about diet pills, a couple of categories that you should be aware of so you're educated, but then we want to talk a little bit about metabolism and how that interacts as well with the pills that you may or may not be taking.
That's right. The first category, that's the most common one, that is appetite suppressant, usually serotonin or catecholamine depressing type of chemicals. And they can help in the short term for the most part. There's one that's FDA approved for long-term use, but acupuncture, on the other hand, can help too. The second category is actually the combination of the phentermine plus another medication that's usually used for treating seizures or migraine headaches, and that's called topiramate. So this medicine is two ingredients. It's the appetite depressant, suppressant, plus this neural regulator. The medicine is used for seizure or migraine. It works on the neural system, your nervous system. It gives you a feeling of fullness. Okay. It makes you feel full.
Interesting.
And it makes food taste less appealing.
I'd be okay with that.
I thought the primary pleasure comes from food. So
but
you want the food to taste good. Unless you're morbidly obese, you really, desperately trying to get the fat or the weight off of you, then I guess this is a way to try.
The reason I made the comment is that over and over people share this phrase, is that you need to eat to live rather than live to eat. And that was actually how I gained that weight, is that I actually was in a lifestyle where I was living to eat. And it also had to do with incorporation. I was doing a lot of business meetings where we'd meet for breakfast and we'd meet for lunch, and then we'd have meet with a different group
So
for second lunch. And
eating is also a social activity.
Social activity. And so if it doesn't taste good and you feel full, then you get smaller portions. Yeah, that's an okay thing.
Well, in China, people talk about the most basic pleasure is from eating. Yet they don't have the same degree of obesity problem as we have here.
Right.
And I think the choice of food is part of it. The other part is lifestyle, meaning more walking, more of a physical activity, less of a sedentary life.
I agree, and I'm going to take a risk of my co-host here being mad at me for going off in a different direction, but the way Americans eat versus the way other countries eat that don't have the obesity problems that America has, there's some things that are here that you want to be aware of. One of them is high fructose corn syrup. It is put into everything, and I'm not talking conspiracy, but a little bit of history about it, is that during World War II, there needed to be a very, very high volume creation of something that would sweeten, that was inexpensive, that could make it palatable to eat lower grades of food because the food wasn't as plentiful and needed to go a lot farther. And so they actually created that. At the same time, they created MSG. Those were two creations about the same time, and that has been incorporated into the American diet. And both MSG and high fructose corn syrup are things that are fat creating. They go into our bodies and actually have a lot of calories, and they make it taste better than it really is. So we actually eat more of it.
You know what? I have a little confusion about the MSG.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what MSG stands for?
I used to know.
It's mono.
Something.
It's actually an amino acid.
Yes.
Monosodium
Glutamate.
Yeah, there we go. Glutamate.
It's basically a type of amino acid.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't see the amino acid can be so harmful.
It's not so much that it's harmful; it's that it to our mouth, it makes things taste better than they really are. So we eat more.
So we eat more.
Yeah. So I wasn't saying that now high fructose corn syrup. What it does is it gives a huge glycemic spike, and so we store the fat faster. But the MSG, all it does is make lower grades of food taste better than they really are.
What's wrong with that?
Because then we eat
better.
more. Well, and it actually was developed by a Korean, the Korean army, because they were the ones that said they were getting really low level cuts of food, and so they threw the MSG in it, and the soldiers had a lot of easier time eating it. So we actually pulled that over into the American system to do the same thing.
So is it good or not? It depends on the time. It depends on the goal. Here we're
Yes.
eating too much. We want to food not taste so good. Like my son tells me, "Mom, you make dinner so good, so I can stop eating it."
And that's actually the controversy of it being used in restaurants. The restaurants use it in the same way to have lower cuts of meat or lower levels of food to taste better for us.
I see. I understand that now.
Yeah.
Now there's also another health issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
That is, some people get headaches. They
That is
get
true.
Adverse reaction from it.
I think my wife is one of them. Every time she eats a hot dog, which is very highly potentially containing MSG, she gets headaches.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a type of, almost you can call it food allergy.
Mm-hmm.
The MSG, which is a amino acid, which is a broken down parts from a protein.
Mm-hmm.
When you have protein that's digested, it becomes amino acids.
Yes, that is true.
So they're smaller in the size in the molecules,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still considered large molecules, and those things can be allergens. Most allergens are proteins. When
Okay.
they're large amino acids, they can be too.
Gotcha.
So a lot of people don't like MSG for that reason. Now, this is another point I want to make. When people are allergic to something, they don't have to be allergic to it. Acupuncture can help to get rid of allergies to just about everything.
It's true. I really believe that. I've
There are
seen
two ways to
seen
deal
it work.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
One is you avoid things you don't like or your body doesn't do well. One is to change your body. I mean, MSG is not a nutritional important thing. I mean, some people are allergic to beef.
Right, that's true.
Sure.
That might be also what's causing my wife's issue too. I don't blame it on poor MSG.
You don't have to be. And then some people couldn't eat chocolate, couldn't, milk intolerance. It's the same thing with gluten.
Mm-hmm.
Gluten is the protein that is in the wheat.
Mm-hmm.
We want gluten-free for this and for that. Why? It's the protein
Yeah.
in your wheat.
We could actually do an entire show on that. But I'm a person who still eats wheat, but it's because I don't have a gluten allergy. There are some who have gluten allergies.
But my point is, you can get rid of the gluten allergy, so you can
Thank
actually
you.
enjoy your whole wheat.
So you have to change your
Diet.
entire lifestyle. Because,
Exactly.
by the way, most of the gluten-free things that you eat, which if you have an allergy to them and it doesn't sit well with you, no problem in doing the right thing. However, normally it's rice, which ends up often being white rice, which ends up being white rice flour, which really has almost no food value for you. Now, Dr. Lee's going to take an issue immediately.
We're going to talk about it in the whole show.
Okay.
Is rice good for you or not?
Yes, I think that would be
we
great.
will.
So tune in for another show later. We'll go into a lot of in-depth analysis. I think brown rice is good, but rice is not as bad as we think it is.
We're going to keep it to that show.
Let's keep it to the other show. Go ahead.
So we talked about the two categories of diet pills. One is appetite suppressant. One is combination of that plus a seizure and migraine medicine to reduce the flavor,
Mhm.
appealingness of food and increase the fullness. And actually, it may increase the calorie burning too in that medication. It's called, how do you pronounce that? Quesmia?
I'll go with that. Quizmia. Okay.
Quizmia, yes. It's a fancy name.
Obviously, I'm not highly educated on that matter, but yeah,
It's a fancy
Quizmia.
name. Anyway,
Yeah.
the third category is a fat absorption inhibitor. So basically, you eat fat and it doesn't get absorbed. We're going to talk about that probably in the next section.
Yes, we're coming up close to break, so when we come back, we will cover that as well as metabolism and what happens, what actually is fat loss, how does it work. So when we come back from break, we'll talk about that. This is Kurt Wilhelm, your host of the Ageless Living Show here on World Talk Radio, Voice America.
And this is Dr. Tong Lee. Remember, if you have an allergy toward food or certain chemicals like MSG, there are ways to treat it with acupuncture. And we'll see you next show.